Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a super important topic, journaling mistakes that can harm your mental well-being. There are some journaling habits that can actually mess with your mental health. If you're into journaling or thinking about starting, you won't want to miss this. Okay, so you know how sometimes you get stuck in your head like way too much? Yeah, overthinking. It's the worst. And it can totally seep into your journaling. We've all been there, staring at the page, trying to craft the perfect sentence using all the fancy vocabulary words we can think of. Like, who are we trying to impress? Ourselves. Our future selves who might stumble upon this masterpiece of emotional diarrhea. It's exhausting. We're supposed to be letting our thoughts flow freely, not dissecting every single word like it's a Shakespearean sonnet. The thing is, when you overthink your journaling, it stops being a safe space to process your emotions. It becomes this weird performance where you're trying to sound smart or profound, and when you inevitably fail to live up to your own impossible standards, you end up feeling worse than when you started. So, my advice? Just chill out. Write like you talk. Don't worry about grammar, punctuation, or sounding like a therapist. This is your journal, your space to be messy and real. The less pressure you put on yourself to be perfect, the more therapeutic and enjoyable the whole journaling experience will be. Oh my God, this one is huge! In the age of social media, it's so easy to get caught up in the comparison trap. We see these picture-perfect journals on Instagram with their calligraphy headings, artistic doodles, and profound insights. And we're like, wait, my journal looks like a ransom note written by a sleep-deprived squirrel. What's wrong with me? First of all, let's just acknowledge that social media is a highlight reel. People curate the heck out of their feeds, showing only the best, most aesthetically pleasing versions of themselves and their lives. It's like comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's finished movie. Your journal is not a competition. It's about connecting with yourself, processing your emotions, and creating a space where you can just be you, without judgment or comparison. So if your journal is full of angry scribbles, tear stains, and incoherent ramblings, that's totally fine. It's your journey. Comparison is the thief of joy, and it has no place in your journaling practice. Focus on your own unique journaling journey. It's the only one that matters. Okay, real talk. We all have that inner critic, that voice in our head that loves to point out our flaws and shortcomings. And the worst part, that inner critic can totally hijack your journaling practice. Instead of using journaling as a space for self-reflection and growth, we end up berating ourselves for every mistake, every perceived failure, every time we didn't live up to our own impossible standards. It's like, oh, you're feeling stressed? Well, duh. You should have managed your time better, you procrastinating mess. Not helpful, inner critic, not helpful at all. Here's the thing, your journal is not the place for self-flagellation. It's a safe space to be vulnerable, to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. So instead of using your journal to criticize yourself, try to approach it with a more compassionate and understanding lens. Acknowledge your struggles, but also celebrate your wins, no matter how small they may seem. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a close friend. I'm calling this one out because I'm totally guilty of it. When you're feeling down, stressed, or anxious, journaling can feel like this amazing release, a way to purge all those negative emotions onto the page. But here's the catch. If you're only journaling when you're feeling crappy, you're basically training your brain to associate journaling with negativity. Think about it. Every time you pick up your journal, it's because something bad happened or you're feeling overwhelmed. And while there's nothing wrong with processing those emotions, it's important to balance things out with some positivity too. So next time you're feeling good, grab your journal and jot down some things you're grateful for, some recent wins, or just a funny observation that made you smile. It'll make a world of difference, trust me. This one might seem counterintuitive, right? Like, isn't journaling all about exploring your emotions? Well, yes and no. It's easy to fall into the trap of using our journals as a dumping ground for our feelings, just venting and complaining without actually acknowledging or processing what's going on beneath the surface. It's like, ugh, I'm so stressed about this presentation, my boss is the worst, and I just want to crawl into a hole and eat my weight in ice cream. Okay, valid feelings, but what's causing them? What are you actually feeling beneath the stress and frustration? Sometimes we use distractions like binge-watching Netflix or scrolling through TikTok to avoid dealing with our emotions. But here's the thing, your journal is a safe space to be honest with yourself, to explore those messy, uncomfortable emotions without judgment. So don't be afraid to go there. Dig deep, ask yourself the tough questions, and allow yourself to feel everything, even if it's uncomfortable. Raise your hand if you've ever bought a brand new journal, all excited to start this amazing journaling practice, only to abandon it after a week because you couldn't keep up with your own unrealistic expectations. Yeah, me too. It's like we think we need to magically transform into these journaling gurus overnight, churning out pages of profound insights and perfectly formed sentences. We set these arbitrary rules for ourselves, like I have to journal every single day. All my entries need to be at least 3 pages long. And then, when we inevitably fail to meet these impossible standards, we feel like failures, and we give up on the whole journaling thing altogether. Here's the deal. Journaling is not a one-size-fits-all practice. There's no right or wrong way to do it. The most important thing is to find what works for you and your lifestyle. Okay, so we've talked about how it's important to acknowledge and process your emotions in your journal, but there's a fine line between healthy venting and just using your journal as a toxic waste dump for all your negative thoughts and feelings. It's like, my coworker is so annoying, my hair looks terrible today, and I just stepped in dog poop. While it's totally fine to vent in your journal, it's important to do so in a constructive way. Instead of just listing out all the things that are wrong in your life, try to dig a little deeper. Why are those things bothering you? What can you do to change the situation? Your journal can be an amazing tool for problem solving and personal growth, but only if you use it intentionally. Have you ever flipped back through an old journal and cringed so hard you thought your face might actually get stuck that way? Like, oh my God, past self, you were so dramatic. Get over it. I've been there. But you know what? As embarrassing as it can be to revisit our past selves, there's so much value in reviewing our old journal entries. It's like having a conversation with a younger version of yourself, a chance to gain perspective on your past experiences and see how far you've come. You might be surprised by the insights you uncover, the patterns you notice, or the lessons you've learned along the way. It can also be incredibly reassuring to see how much you've grown and evolved over time. Okay, this one might sound a little controversial, but hear me out. We're often told that our journals are sacred, private spaces, and while that's definitely true to a certain extent, sometimes sharing our thoughts and feelings with a trusted friend, family member, or therapist can be incredibly beneficial. Talking about our problems can help us to process them more effectively, gain new perspectives, and feel less alone in our struggles. Of course, it's important to be mindful of who you share your journal with and to set boundaries. But if you're struggling with something and you feel comfortable opening up to someone you trust, don't be afraid to reach out. Journaling can be an amazing tool for self-discovery, but it's important to remember that it's not just about writing down our thoughts and feelings. It's about using those insights to make positive changes in our lives. Think about it. If you go to the doctor with a broken leg, you wouldn't just expect them to tell you it's broken and then send you on your merry way, right? Your journal is kind of like that. It can help you to identify the areas of your life that need attention, but it's up to you to take action and make the necessary changes. So next time you're journaling, pay attention to any recurring themes or patterns that emerge. What are some steps you can take to address those issues? What are some small changes you can make in your daily life to move closer to your goals? Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what your biggest journaling struggle is. See you next time.